Hello, guys. Seems like this always starts out the same way. I end up losing my hands. Sorry about literally walking outside of someone. So, like Tim mentioned in the last video, I'm doing dedicated server this time because I wanted to show you guys something that he implemented that is it requires another like a replica of myself. This won't do this in the client side when you're not hosting a dedicated on a 1050 Ti and a mediocre CPU. So this is just a side effect of the developer running a dedicated server on top of two clients. It doesn't do this normally. So um, the HUD, right? So since you guys saw the screenshot, you'll notice I've made some adjustments. I scooted these player end zone duration in a little bit because on a HTC Vive Pro, this is literally the edge of my screen, right? If I turn, I can see the edge of the compass, but when I'm looking forward, it's kind of cutting that off a little bit, and that's the edge. So while we're on the HUD, I want to talk about that a little bit, right? So let me get something to demonstrate what's going on here. So we have something called world space and screen space in games. Usually UIs are in screen space, and that protects them. You usually don't get depth. They're just kind of stuck to your face on a flat panel, right? But in world space and VR, with three-dimensional objects, when you're talking about depth, like something is 3 feet long, 2.5 feet long, whatever, and you walk towards something, you end up with this, it's either going to collide or it's going to clip. When it clips, you can't see what's behind it. It's clipping through, right? Well, for HUD elements, that's bad, right? If I'm this close and this thing's 4 foot in front of me and it clips, I can't see it. If somebody's shooting me in the back right now, or I'd have to be like, oh, I gotta look outside of I can't hide up against this wall because I gotta be able to see the left side of the compass. You end up with this weird situation. So there's pros and cons to it, right? So the bad thing is that it's rendered on top no matter what the distance is. So even though this HUD's like literally out past this bat, if I lift the bat up in front of it, it looks like it's drawn on top to keep it from clipping or to keep this from being rendered in front of it. So that's the con. But honestly speaking, it's kind of a user preference type thing. Some people would prefer to be able to stick the bat in front of this and get in the way of the HUD. Other people would be like, it's in the way of my HUD, I can't see. So it's kind of a user preference type of thing. But when it comes to gameplay mechanics, when it comes to understanding who's shooting you, or there's a dude over there at all times, no matter where you're at, that's when it becomes important and it takes precedent over everything. And it's like, how do we present that in a way that is never going to get hidden? It's never going to get, it's not going to become an annoyance ever. It's always going to be useful. It's always going to be of use. I'm always going to know that dude's over there. He's red, he's in front of me, or he's behind me now because it's yellow. And even though I'm right up against this wall, I can see it and read it. And that's the important thing here. So zones, same way, purple or blue reticle behind you, in front of you. And I'm going to work out something with like meters so that you know how many meters away it is. And the mini map of the map, I'll probably have that at the lobby island. But if I'm able to do everything with this compass, like give you a generalized direction, let you know if someone's by you, if you can hear a noise so many meters away from you, if you need to run that direction to the zone for 150 meters, then there's no real reason to have something else to finagle with while you're playing the game if everything can be served up with this one item, right? All of the information you need is here and it's all good. So the other thing I wanted to talk about is like people's concern with it being in the way, or it's a whole lot going on, right? Especially for a VR game. But I want to stress to you that when you're in here, and it's hard, you won't be able to see this until you guys test it. But my field of view, I'm always looking like this is where I'm looking, right? So like when I'm looking off in the distance, this thing scoots up when I look up, it scoots down when I look down. It's Like it's never like if I'm looking down at my ammo right now, my eyes are angled downward. I don't even see it. It's out of my viewport. I don't even know there's a HUD there. But if I look up a little bit like this way, then I notice that it's above me. But in order to see it, I have to angle my eyes up at a 3.5 foot angle in front of me to even know that it's there. Otherwise, if I'm like, holding a weapon, aiming, whatever, um, it's out past my weapon in my peripheral. It's always above me. It's never where I'm looking, never in my way. When I'm looking like this, I see the gun. I'm looking, a foot in front of me. That thing's like so far off in my peripheral and my distance that I don't even recognize it's there. And that's really, really hard to explain on a flat screen. The other thing was I adjusted the grip locations of this guy, and I adjusted the grip location on the shell. So I wanted to talk a little bit about it. Tim did an excellent job with this thing. I love how it's kind of like a mortar. It behaves a lot like a real RPG would in the sense that it like will bust your freaking eardrums. No, I'm just playing. But seriously though, if my job knew I was firing this in headphones that could produce the decibel rating to literally like make me have to wear ear protection, I'd probably lose my job. But it's nice. It fires like a real RPG. The shell behaves like it would. It has initial velocity. It drops. He did a really good job on this. So bravo to Tim. Awesome. The reload mechanics are easy. I tend to favor a mistake in the right direction. If nobody knows what that means, it means I tend to favor nothing becoming frustrating but being helpful if it is unintentional. So, like say you have this over here and you're wanting to reload this and you accidentally come too close to it. The unintentional behavior is you just accidentally reloaded that. Oh, that's nice. So that's what I tend to lean towards versus somebody has this thing in their hand and they're like, how do I get this stick into this thing? I can't get it to reload. This is like I will never like it's cartoony on purpose. It's easy. It's easy on purpose. We try to design in the favor of I accidentally did what I was supposed to do. And all of the guns behave that way. You just get it near it. It's easy. You can turn it over, drop the clip, it'll fall in, it'll reload the gun. Like it's intentional. So there's that. The other thing I want to talk about is like the trying to hit this end of year deadline. I've spoken with a lot of you guys. I know that that's what we're really trying to do. And I don't want to hide anything from you. There's like crap like this where you can put a gun over a gun on the gun slots. These behave properly, but I haven't gotten to these. Other things have taken my attention away. There's some arrow grip behavior stuff on the dedicated server where it's acting kind of funny that I need to get corrected. So we have the RPG done. The other thing is like Knight is working on the vehicle base. The vehicle base works. You can drive them. But there's some issues with the steering rotation, and there's some bugs that were introduced because, what fun is an RPG if you can't blow up a vehicle? So he's working on like vehicle damage, and there's like stuff that we want in the game before we start turning it over to like either the hype train or the sharks, right? So we would prefer everybody's like, man, you gotta check this out. You can blow up a vehicle. They have like this really awesome RPG. They have all these vehicles that you can drive. Like we would rather that than, you can't even grip an arrow and you can put weapons on top of the other weapon. Like, like there's just this place that we want to be at. And I want to be realistic with everyone. I'm not here to hide anything. We work really hard on this thing, and we want it to be right before we even turn it over to early alpha testers. We don't want people to be frustrated. So that's what we're doing right now is like just getting everything in order. getting the match logic in, working on cleanup, trying to make sure it's persistent so you can drop back in. Um, we're dealing with the idea of how do we handle kill death ratios, dropping back in, penalization, how do we penalize people, all of that kind of stuff. So Knight had worked on this Build-A-Bear idea. We were doing a widget, and don't get me on the VR and the widget thing. Like it's just not intuitive for me. It's like, it's if I was given a presentation in real life, I'm like, if you look over here to this, appendum A, or like, yeah, if I'm giving a presentation or something. But if I'm trying to interact with something, I want to grip it, I want to grab it, I want to touch it. Like even on my touchscreen on laptop, I'm not like, give me my laser pointer so I can hit the start button and shut this computer down. Like I literally like touch it, and that's the way I want to interact with stuff in VR. And that isn't a blow to you guys that enjoy laser interactions and widgets in VR. It's just a personal preference for me. I don't tend to enjoy that interaction for certain things, and I try to avoid it if all possible. For something like a scoreboard or something, yeah, that makes sense. But for something I'm going to be interacting with, it's not a display, it's not literally displaying something, then it doesn't. So Knighted came up with this Build-A-Bear thing, right? And I can't, before you guys get off on your played with Barbies and G.I. Joe and all that kind of stuff, like G.I. Joe's cool. And, he's an army soldier. Like, so, get off your Barbie soapbox. But there's something cool about this in VR and the idea behind it, and being able to pick this dude up and be able to, like, walk up to, like, a display table with a whole bunch of headpieces on it and be like, I want this hat on my character, and I want him to have this beard, and you design your guy really easily and really quickly by just boop, 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 and picking out your character mesh, and then walking over like out the door of this Build-A-Bear shop, and you just toss him into like a basket, or you toss him into this chest and you shut it. And you're like, boom, that's what I want. And your guy turns into what you just picked out. Like there's this social aspect behind that. And to me, it could end up being cool. And it's one of those things that like the testers will have to flesh it out and understand how it feels. And there's this weird cartoony like behavior that he has whenever he like simulates when you drop him. That's really cool to mess around with. It's entertaining, and I can just see how this could go somewhere. It could end up being a thing, but then again, I'll just, that's something that Knighted's working on, and I'll let him flesh it out, and then you guys will be able to test different things and give us your feedback and let us know how you feel about it. The other thing I wanted to show you guys, because I don't think it's been demonstrated, is Tim put in this mechanism. Oh, by the way, I'm walking. This is a normal walk, and if I double tap, which I didn't mean to grab that. If I double tap, I run. So, and it works like that across all platforms. So Oculus, Vive, the wands. That's how it works. And we'll probably add customization for the click. Like if you click in, it does it. But for index controllers, that click is like a pain in the rear end. And Steam VR has actually patched it now. If you push it all the way forward on the controller, it recognizes it as a click. So that means you would like be always sprinting if you pushed all the way forward. So double tap seems to be the way to go for now until we figure out exactly how we're going to handle that. But the thing I wanted to show you guys is that like, I don't know if it's been mentioned, but bullet drop is a real thing. If I look down this thing and I fire, the velocity's high enough at this distance to where it just doesn't drop off that bad. But if I fire over there, it's a substantial amount of drop. and it happens over distance, even worse. The other thing that and pistols are even worse about it because the velocity is not as high as a rifle, right? The other thing that I wanted to mention is that, like, if I'm up on this dude and I'm shooting him, and he's just a replica of me. If I'm shooting him, there's blood splatter. You shot him from this distance. You can tell I just shot that dude. But if I'm like all the way across the map, and let me kick it into high gear here. So if I'm all the way across the map, I'm like, pretty good distance away from this dude. There's no way for me to really know. I mean, I have to really look for the blood. But if you just heard what just happened, like, there is a pure indication to me that I just shot that dude. So Tim put in this impact indicator for people that are shooting at a distance. You can hear it. You hear the ricochet noise, and you hear like an impact. And I know that isn't realistic, but for someone who's playing a game like this, that feedback to know that you just hit someone is really important. Especially when there's bullets drop on the gun. I just popped him. He just went down. So that's something that I wanted to display to you guys, to so that you guys could get that effect and you could understand how that works. There's little particles floating in the world, and there's some attention to detail that's being paid to the game here and there. There's physics, that is constraints that are fully interactable based on walking into them, touching them, or whatever. And a lot of this is just seeing how this performs under dedicated server load across multiple clients to see. And if you was to walk underneath a door, there was a sign or something like that. Having things like this that doesn't cost a whole lot, but gives you that added immersion is kind of important. So it's one of those things that we're just kind of playing around with. So there is medicine, right? I wanted to specify the difference. There's medicine and there's food items that are portable and you can attach to your belt. And then there's these guys which are not portable. You just use them, right? So there's no way to bring them with you anywhere. But they will refill, like, you could be down to the last spec, and the idea is that the big med packs will refill your whole bar. So there's that. So yeah, the goal is to get all the little quirks out to hit end of the year, hit holiday, get something awesome in your guys' hands. I wanted to kind of go over where we are and, realistically speaking, what's left to work out as far as all the quirks are concerned. Knocking is still not done yet. I've been distracted. I need to get that finished up. There's like the velocity calculation on distance, on impacts on the arrow. If you're past a certain point, it's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. It calculates properly. So that's some of the weird stuff that I wanna fix up. I'm about to pull a Jim Carrey. Send the bone. So there is, that's it. There's stuff that we're trying to get all the kinks out of and get filling freaking collision double hits, but we're trying to get all the kinks out of. We're trying to get everything performing the way you would expect it to, and just working really, really well. Yeah, you like that. before we release something and people are like, having a bad experience with it, we're trying to always err in the realm of convenience. So if something does happen, it's beneficial to you. Like the reload mechanics are built around being more easier than difficult, and the only mistake you can make is, oh, I accidentally reloaded my weapon. So there's that. We're trying to make the HUD more like never frustrating, always convenient, out of the way. Uh, Cut back on the amount of calculations needing to be done. Handle everything on that compass, so you don't necessarily need a mini map. You learn the map. There will be a map display in the lobby island, so you'll get to see like the school, like what all the zones are, like no different than any other battle royale game. We're fleshing out how we're going to handle match logic to allow you to be able to drop back in. It's just bringing all the nooks and crannies together and cleaning them all up and making it a really solid experience for you guys. And then we'll kind of go from there. Get feedback from y'all. Make sure you're having fun with the weapons and the vehicles, and things are performing pretty solid. And it'll be locked up in closed testing for some specific media guys, some handful of developers that we know, and then we'll slowly trickle it out to the public, and then hopefully have a solid product sometime after the end of the year. Not sure what we're going to do as far as early access is concerned. I'm sure as that time gets closer, we'll be able to discuss it. But that's where we are. That's what's going on, and those are the new additions and how they behave and what things look like in VR. Even whenever I'm running on a 1050 Ti and replicating myself out to two clients and hosting a dedicated server all at the same time, it's pretty solid feeling. So y'all have a good one, and until next time.